Welcome to the 3Haunted podcast, where we bring you all things horror, supernatural, folklore, mythology, and all things that go bump in the night.
What's up, everybody? This is your co host, Ashley Lunar Goddess, Gorilla Girl filmmaker and horror loving cinephile. I'm just your average podcast producing badass.
I'm John Thomas. Some would say that I go a little too far with my love of all things horror, paranormal, and meta, but I say, talk nerdy to me, and I'm all yours.
I'm BJ Sewura, an aspiring paranormal musician who plays live for the dead because the living just doesn't want to hear me.
The Dead of Winter Horror Network and Nick Kane from the 508 Productions invite you to endure the most terrifying immersive experience in all of podcasting. Beneath the Red Umbrella, now available wherever you listen to podcasts. Beneath the Red Umbrella, when the snow falls, the killing season begins.
What's up, ghouls, gals, and all of our spooky pals out there? In today's episode, we'll be joined by special guest Nathan Elwell. Nathan is the founder and director of the Southeastern Ghost Research Association, as well as the Newport Paranormal Society. Welcome to the show, Nathan.
Hey, you know what? I'm happy to be here. I greatly appreciate the invitation.
I appreciate you responding. I know I put a call out there for podcast guests. You're like, hey, I'll do it. And we love having paranormal people come on, paranormal investigators, especially people that create a community. You have two separate communities. You have, can I just call it Segra?
Yeah, that's typically what I call it anyway, so that's perfectly fine.
Okay, you have, so it was a mouthful. I got through it, but it was a little try. You have Segra and you have the Newport Paranormal Society. So which one came first?
Segra Paranormal came first. I was raised in Alabama for 22 years. I was originally born in New Hampshire, but we moved around a lot. My parents don't mind me talking about this. They were addicted to drugs, and so they got into some stuff, and we had to move around a lot because my mother was on the run from the cops, to be 100% honest. That is what it is. Everyone has a past. So when we ended up in Alabama, I ended up having some experiences in a house that we lived in when I was about 18 or 19, and it kind of culminated and came to an end when I turned about 21, maybe 22 at the latest. But because of that, I founded the Segra Paranormal. And then when we moved up here to New Hampshire 11 years ago, I'm not going to give up my love of the paranormal, so I founded the Newport Paranormal Society.
And what kind of experiences were you having at your home in Alabama?
So it's kind of I'll tell you, it's on my YouTube, so if no one else sees it, it's fine. But here's the deal. So we had a pit bull named Stormy, and I know that kind of doesn't sound paranormal, but that's where it kind of all started. So she used to sleep in my bedroom with me, and she was 16 years old. That's pretty old for a pit bull. Got to the point where she couldn't control her faculties one night, and she had an accident on my bed. The next night I get out and I tell her, Stormy, you can't come in here and sleep. You have to go to the living room, honey. You can't be sleeping on my bed doing that. We woke up the next morning and she had crawled underneath the coffee table and passed. So obviously I felt horrible about that because I love animals. But it was the night that she passed that the experiences started happening. So I don't know if maybe she was sleeping in my room to try and protect me from something that was in the room, because my room was the only room she would go into as far as bedrooms go. So I went to sleep that night and I woke up at about 2:45 in the morning to a tugging at the feet of my blanket. And it woke me up pretty much out of a dead sleep. I'm sitting there, not thinking about it, half asleep, kick my foot back, and I say, Stormy, will you please stop whatever you're doing? Well, my foot hit something solid. But here's the question. How can my foot hit something solid if there's no solid animal to be there because she passed away that morning? And then I hear this voice that did not sound human say my name. After about, I'm going to say 4 or 5 minutes, but let's be honest, it was probably 45, 50 seconds. When you're in that kind of fear, it doesn't take on the same time frame. And I rolled over, I grabbed my flashlight, turned it on, and my closet door was wide open. I'm OCD about having doors open. I shut every single door in the house. I don't like open doors, never have. And this continuously reoccurred for a good 4 or 5 weeks, where I would wake up to tugging on my blankets, rolling over, the closet door being open. And then one day I come home from work and I walk into my room and I noticed on my sideboard of my bed, there were scratch marks that were not there before. I still don't know where they came from. Could it have been an entity? Maybe. Could I have maybe scratched it climbing into bed? Possibly. But I don't really have that sharp of toenails, to be honest. So I don't really know where they came from. Then the part I really kind of like feel uncomfortable, I guess you could say, talking about, because after that happened, there was tapping on the window every morning, 3 a.m. 3 sets of 3 taps, and they were very loud taps. I had multiple friends that did not believe me that this was occurring. So I brought them down to my house, allowed them to stay in my room, and they were awoken at 3 a.m. to the same 3 taps that I was hearing every single day. And this occurred, oddly, for about 3 months. So if you know anything about the paranormal, you know the 3 taps of three, whatever, it's the mocking of the Trinity. But I have multiple witnesses that this was occurring. And then the nightmares started. I started having nightmares of me dying in various ways. They were very violent, very vivid. And I don't know if any of you three have experienced the kind of like when you wake up in a dream state where you slap on your bed and it bounces. It's a very weird feeling. So oddly, like I said, after about 3 months, that stopped. 2 months later, I end up getting married. I move out of my parents' house and I move into this little trailer in a place called Clayhatchee, Alabama. It's a town so small that if you drove through it and blinked, you probably didn't even know it existed. Our trailer had one street light that was about 100 yards away. So when I say you turn the lights off in this house, it was pitch black. You could not see your hand half a foot in front of your face, kind of black, when you turn the lights off. At that point in time, I was a supervisor at a McDonald's and I would work the night shift. So I wouldn't get home until about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock a.m. I would come home and my ex-wife would leave the kitchen light on for me, so that way I wasn't fumbling through the house. Whenever I would get home, I would see shadows moving in the light in the window. I would think, what is she doing awake? I'd go inside, she'd be asleep. We'd have objects, displacement of objects. We would have objects disappear and reappear in places that we know for a fact we didn't put them. And probably a year into moving into this trailer was kind of where the culmination came out. And I decided that I needed to know more about what was going on. And it interested me that much that I bought my first paranormal book, and that's where I started researching. I bought my first voice recorder, I bought my first camera. I come home from work and I got off early that night. I was working a mid shift, so I worked 11 to 7, but it ended up being 11 to 9 because we had a call out, so I stayed late to cover a shift. I get home, I go inside. Her and my daughter are already in bed. They're sleeping. I lay down, I fall asleep at about 10. I wake up at about 2:45 in the morning. I rolled over and looked at the clock. I believe it said 2:47. I could not move. The only thing I could move was my head. My whole body was pressed against the bed. I felt this pressure on my chest. I felt this pressure on my neck. And I don't know if any of you have ever experienced sleep paralysis before. And it's a very terrifying thing. So when you're in that state, it seems like hours, but it's probably a matter of seconds. I shook it off, and when I sat up, there was a figure standing at the foot of the bed that was completely pitch black, like blacker than black. I told you there was no streetlights near this trailer. I watched this figure physically drift backwards into the hallway. It didn't walk, it drifted like it floated. And when it dissipated, the light in the hallway got extremely bright and shattered. The next day, I got on Google and I started researching, and that's kind of where Segra Paranormal came from.
So you had already broken out of sleep paralysis when you sat up and saw this like drift off into the hallway.
Yeah, and it was a really weird looking thing. Like it wasn't solid. It's almost like it was black, but you could see wisps moving around like what you would see in a bonfire. But it had a human shape. It was extremely weird. I've never seen anything like it since. I really don't know how to explain it, but
No, I get it completely. I've experienced that twice, and it's unnerving.
I'll tell you right now, it scared the ever living shit out of me.
Yeah, it's very unnerving. It's funny, the first time I experienced something similar with like that very dark figure, almost like there's an absence of light. It's not even like it's a shadow. It's just an absence of light.
Yes.
It was also at the foot of my bed next to my leg. And it was like it was reaching to like grab my leg, but not in like an aggressive manner, just like going to put its hand down. And I'm like, oh, hell no, you are not touching me. And I think that's the only thing that snapped me out of it, because I had been in sleep paralysis as well. So I couldn't move. But as soon as I saw it like reaching down to touch my leg, I'm like, everything in me, I'm like, you got to snap out of it. But it didn't just disappear. It's like you said, it kind of backed off into a corner and then it was gone.
Yeah, it's weird how that works, because normally
Yeah.
when you shake yourself out of that, it doesn't just dissipate out of nowhere. It literally just kind of like drifts off, like it's its own physical entity.
Yep.
But it's just weird.
It's
It is
terrifying.
weird. I actually felt that the other night too. This is the first, because I've also had sleep paralysis. We've talked about that before, and this was the first time I actually not I snapped. I knew I was having it, because like when you wake up, you can still, for me anyway, I can still like hum. I can still like go like
Yeah,
get a sound. And I felt like once I knew I was in it, and I saw this black figure, I like in my head I was like, nope, instantly into a dream. It was amazing. Like I'd never done that before. Usually it takes me a while and I get scared shitless and then I'm fighting to either stay awake or go to sleep, and it lasts a lot longer. But yeah, that's is that a common occurrence for you with the sleep paralysis, or is it?
no, I've only
That's good.
experienced it one other time, and that was probably about a month ago. I woke up with sleep paralysis, but I didn't see any figures standing by the bed. But I also have a back injury that I sustained during high school when I was playing football. So I'm not going to sit here and say that was paranormal. I could contribute that to me just rolling over incorrectly and maybe pinching a nerve or something, causing temporary paralysis.
Yeah, it's terrifying to experience that. And a lot of people, for us who experience things in sleep paralysis, I feel like over time, especially I've been a lifelong like sleep paralysis. I have had it consistently throughout my many decades on this earth. But you can tell the difference. You can tell the difference when your dream is, manifesting, overlaying what you're seeing in your waking world. And you know the difference when it's like, okay, yeah, my brain's showing me what I'm dreaming, and when it's something else. You
Right.
can feel it when you're like, oh, I'm not dreaming this. This is something external to me. And that feeling, like you said, that it could be 45 seconds, it could be a minute, but it feels like hours, because
It does.
it's unnerving and it's terrifying.
It does. When you look at it, technically, when you wake up and see a figure, typically what people would consider that is something known as an old hag attack. It's basically considered a witch that has somehow made its way into your home, whether it be via curse or you just attracted it, that is trying to attack you in your sleep. And that's basically what I would describe the experience that I had when back when. But the recent one, like I said, I woke up, there was no figures there. I just couldn't move.
Yeah, you say old hag, and the guys know about this. Last year, I had an episode where, like you said, the black wisps. And I told them it's almost like seeing, if you've seen Harry Potter, it's almost like seeing a Dementor, like just like the black
Yes.
floating. And
Yes.
I had that experience where, like, I woke up and this wasn't necessarily sleep paralysis, because I was able to turn. I turned, opened my eyes, and I felt it before I even saw it, like before I went to sleep. I felt something kind of curious poking around like the hallway outside of my bedroom door. And I'm like, go away. And I went to sleep. I woke up and felt it kind of in the corner of my room. And once again, I'm exhausted and I'm like, go away. I'm just like talking to myself, go back to sleep. And I wake up and it's on my side table. And this now I can see, I'm not just feeling it. And it's like you described, almost like this Dementor hag type thing. And it does like, I've never experienced a hag outside of this, but it felt like what you've heard hags described as, like that menacing energy. And it lunged at me. And that terrified the shit out of me. I was just, I don't know, like part of me is like, no, Dementor, you can't have my soul. And like, where is this thing going to drag me off to? It was a whole problem, but it was, again, terrifying. And the older I get, the less my sleep paralysis episodes are, occurring. And I don't know what that's about, but it's definitely, I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad
No,
that
you
it's like
shouldn't be at
spacing
all.
out.
I can tell you that when I woke up that day and I looked at the foot of the bed and I saw that, I was fully expecting it to lunge at me. I wasn't expecting it to just kind of drift backwards off into the hallway. I was fully expecting, oh, I'm about to die. Is what's about to happen. But you know what? Strange things happen for strange reasons.
I think for me personally, like when something like that happens and then it happens again, for me, it's happened like, I don't know, maybe sleep paralysis maybe 10 times in my life. The more it happens, the less freaked out I get. And just because it's like it doesn't get worse, I guess you could call it. Like it's still like the same thing and it still brings fear, but it's also like, okay, here we go again. Like all right, like let's just get through it. And then, it's more of almost like an annoyance. It's a fear, but not as much, right? It's like
Right.
like if you get in a car accident or if you're almost a close call in a car accident, that kind of thing. Like it still freaks you out, but it's not as much as like the very first time you drove, right? Like it's just one of those things that just keeps, if it keeps happening, then maybe I feel like you become more equipped to deal with it, um,
That
just
makes
out
sense.
of repetition.
Now, you mentioned a daughter. That did your daughter? Because we know kids tend to be a little bit more receptive to that stuff. Did your daughter ever talk about experiencing that as well?
No, because at that point in time, she was just an infant. So if she had any experiences there, she probably wouldn't remember.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, if you don't mind me asking, how old is she now?
About to be 18 in July.
Woo! I'm a fellow July baby. Uh, does she also share your interest in paranormal?
As a matter of fact, she investigates with me every time she comes up here. My
I love that.
son, my son, who turns 8 next week, no, 2 weeks from now, actually went on his first paranormal investigation with me. In October. Uh, I took him to see Adam Berry at the Opera House because me and Adam Berry are pretty good friends, and he got to investigate with Adam Berry from Ghost Hunters.
That is so badass.
That's really cool.
And my daughter is part of the reason I do what I do on my TikTok channel because we were watching an episode of Paranormal Caught on Camera, and the episode was based around a place called Dead Children's Playground in Huntsville, Alabama.
I've heard
It's
of
a
that.
place I've personally been because, well, I lived in Alabama for a very long time, and I was sitting there and I was like, "Yeah, they're all wrong." And my daughter Danny was like, "What do you mean?" And I said, well, they said this, they said this. So what I did was I rewound the video and I started playing it like frame by frame in slow motion as fast as I could pause it. I'm like, I see this, I see this, I see this. And she's like, Dad, why don't you start doing that as a platform? And that's kind of where it stemmed from.
Now I have to ask, what did you experience at the Dead Children's Playground?
Nothing at all. Nothing. And let me tell you, I have been to some amazing places. I slept at the Lizzie Borden house in the place where they found Mrs. Borden's body. I slept on the floor where they found her body.
How did you fall asleep? I wouldn't be able to sleep.
I actually laid on the couch, and I could send you a picture of this after with the podcast. But I actually laid it on the couch and recreated the Mr. Borden murder. Stuff like that doesn't bother me. Like laying in that spot, it wasn't nothing to me. But I can tell you, for one of the most haunted places in the U.S., it was an extreme disappointment for me. I experienced nothing the whole night.
That's how I feel about the Stanley Hotel, though. I've been there quite a few times, and I know everybody says it's super haunted, but I never feel or experiencing anything like when I'm actually there.
Yeah, I've not been there yet. I've been to the Castillo de San Marcos down in St. Augustine, Florida. St. Augustine, Florida is one of my favorite places to go. Very historic place. I was invited out by the Ponce de Leon Fountain of Youth Park to investigate the claims of Native American spirits. And I can tell you that in my recording on EVP, we did capture what sounded like ceremonial drums. Where that noise came from, obviously I can't be certain. We did hear the cannon fire that goes off like every 2 hours, and that kind of, I'm not gonna lie, when you listen to audio recording on a headphone, that goes off, and you're not expecting it, it's gonna make you
Scares
jump.
the hell out of you.
A
And
little jarring.
I went and did the legendary St. Augustine Lighthouse. I investigated the lighthouse as well as the Lighthouse Museum. I investigated the oldest jail in the U.S. in St. Augustine. I investigated the Sloss furnaces in Birmingham, Alabama. I have been all over the place.
That's so cool.
What kind of tools do you use when you're investigating? I try to ask everybody that's a paranormal investigator just to get some tips and stuff to help myself out, because I mean we all like to do it as well, but I mean I feel like as much as we can share with other investigators and learn from each other, what works, what doesn't work is just better for everyone, right?
No, I agree with that 100%. I believe definitely you should be able to interact and learn. So for me, I'm kind of old school. If you think back to the days of Dr. Hans Hauser, right? That's how old school I am. Like, I like old, just camera, voice recorder, notepad to take notes to document your experiences, and maybe a few devices here and there. And the reason for that being is that all these devices that they have nowadays, they have so many sensors in them that you don't really know what's affecting them. A REM pod, for example. You take a REM pod, you sit it in a hallway, you're 15 feet away, you hit your walkie to see if everyone's okay. Guess what? That REM pod's gonna go off. So, do I trust that piece of equipment? No, I don't. Motion sensor music boxes. I own one. Do I trust it? No. Why? Because I'm in a haunted location. I'm in an abandoned spot. If I sit that on the floor and I walk off without a camera physically showing me the direction which the music box is facing, what's to say a rat didn't run in front of that and set it off? So I don't personally trust a lot of the equipment that you see on paranormal television and stuff. I go with the old school. Instincts, recorder, camera, a notepad to take notes.
Yeah, I feel like that's what I like to use as well. Just try to get just handheld recorders and put them in a couple different rooms, and then if you can, try to put the camera in one. I mean, if we have multiple cameras, great. But if you only have one, just like the most highly the room that has the most activity usually, right? Or wherever you're doing stuff. But it's sometimes hard because I guess you have to have like the infrared, or you have to have something that does pretty well in low light, right?
Right. So typically for that aspect, you're going to go with the Sony. Sony is one of the best cameras when it comes to low light and or zero lux capability. Me personally, I'll straight tell you, as I said, I'm old school. I don't use digital cameras. I use old school high 8. Why?
Is that
Because
like a
it's
camcorder?
Yes, it's a high 8 camcorder. The reason for that being is it records on the tape. You cannot manipulate tape. You can manipulate digital. So I don't per se trust a lot of the stuff that comes out in the digital age because anything can be manipulated. If I'm playing you a reel from my high 8 on my TV and you see something, there's no way I access that tape to modify that.
Do you ever worry using, and I love that you use these old school methods. Do you ever worry that by recording on tape that anything you capture might be damaged, or do you do any kind of like digital backup?
I do not do digital backups. As far as being damaged, yes, that's always a concern because let's face it, tapes degrade over time. I actually occasionally will pull out my 1966 Bell and Howell 8mm and use that. Tape for that's expensive though.
A
You
little
have to
bit.
buy Catachrome and you have to have a projector, which I do. I have a film projector from 1922 in my closet. So I have an 8mm film projector. But let me tell you, film's expensive. You get, I think it's like $38 for 9 minutes of video. Yeah, I see the facial expression there.
Yeah,
BJ. Yeah.
no. I mean, man, like I don't know. I get that. I think that would be awesome. I would love to have like both, right? To be able to have that, plus your phone, plus maybe another like like a GoPro or something, right? Just to have a
Yeah,
few different things, right?
I like GoPros, and I also have a camera note of the Sony Miyavakia. So it was one of the first digital cameras ever released. This damn thing takes 3.5 inch floppy disk as memory.
People don't know what that is. For
No,
those of
but
you
let me
that are
tell you,
younger,
that floppy disk holds an old 9 pictures.
Woo! Look at you. 9
that's
minutes and 9 pictures.
hilarious.
But you know what? That's the whole reason I like doing it, because I like to experiment with different cameras, because different cameras have different megapixels. Different megapixels will capture different things. So you never really know. So it's always a good idea to bring a multitude of cameras just to test and see what you can catch.
Yeah, I mean, there is a benefit to the digital because people are now able to record 24 hours of investigation. And so you have to be very like scrutinizing of when you press record because you only have 9 minutes on that, film. And I
Yeah.
imagine you're carrying a few, but that still gets really pricey.
I typically only carry one.
Ooh, so you just, how do you pick? How do you pick which 9 minutes you're going to get?
I pick it because I go for the area that seems to have the most activity, where we're in the moment, something's going on. I'm like, okay, well, there's a lot going on here. This is the most we've experienced all night. We're going to go ahead and roll that out now. And that's how I use it. And I have captured movement of objects on that camera. So the method works. It's all deduction and timing. That's it.
And you probably need a decent light source, right? I mean, are you
That camera has no light source.
well, right? Well, I mean, you have to bring you have to bring a light, right? Because you're probably not using the lights that are there, and a lot of the places that you go are abandoned, and so they don't have any electricity. So it's like, what do you just
That thing has no light source. So what I do is I tape a flashlight to the top of it.
Yeah, I like using I just sometimes I'll bring just like even just like glow sticks, right? Like stuff that produces light but not too much, right? Because I feel like when you're out there and I don't know, I feel like you don't get as much activity when it's super bright with the lights, right? So I always try to bring something that glows that and it's cheap, right?
Yeah, I mean, glow sticks are what, $1 at the dollar store?
Do you ever wonder why that is?
Why do you think that is? Why do you think like glow sticks or like spirits don't like the light?
You know, I think it's because of the fact that I'm not sure if spirits are spirits at all. So this may be a controversial aspect, but I don't believe that what we're seeing may or may not be actual spirits. I'm a firm believer in what's known as the time slip theory, where you're in a moment in time where the energies between the overlaying dimensions that people say exist, right, possibly coincide at the perfect moment for you to see exactly what you're seeing. And I can't remember that guy's the physicist name, Neil deGrasse. Um, he will tell you there's multiple dimensions that are layered out, right? So if your time frame perfectly aligns at the perfect moment and you're in the perfect spot, then there is no reason that you could not see into that other time frame and they can't see into yours. So maybe you're reacting to a ghost saying, "Oh my God, I see that," and on their time frame, they're reacting to you the same exact manner.
I sometimes wonder too, BJ, if paranormal activity or things that we're experiencing that we are attributing to ghosts and spirits, if the reason that it happens in the dark and not at the light, I don't know if I would go so far as to say that they don't like the light. I oftentimes wonder if it's because we are afraid of the dark. So our energy vibrates in a much stronger way that's like creating a space for the activity to be heightened. Whereas when it's daylight, we're like, oh, it's okay, I'm safe. And so we're kind of neutralizing the energy around us. Whereas when it's dark, we're like, oh my God, I'm so scared, I'm terrified. And we're kind of changing the vibrations around us. I don't know.
Okay. So would you saying that I may have misunderstood the way the question was worded? Were you asking why we see spirits at night, or were you asking why we experience more paranormal experiences at night?
I think it was just more just if spirits show up more when it's darker out, right? Like if you're coming in and Ashley was saying that maybe it's because if it is spirits, then it's maybe because they're reacting to our fear, our their that low vibration of energy, and so the spirits that are also low vibration will show up, and then they tend to throw things or whatever in those kinds of situations.
Pinch you.
Pinch you, yeah, that does happen. I've been bit before, actually. That's no fun. But I can tell you. So my thought on that would be, what if these occurrences happen throughout the day and we just don't notice them because we're so busy during the daylight? The nighttime is our relaxed time. We sit down. We're not really paying attention to the hubbub of the day, right? We're sitting down, we're relaxing, and then we go to bed, and then things start happening. So maybe it's not the fact that the spirits are not active during the day. Maybe it's just more noticeable that the activity is happening at night because there's less going on.
Oh yeah, I 100% believe that. I mean, you can get stuff happening all throughout the day, right? Like it doesn't matter if it's daytime or nighttime, but like you said, it's a little quieter at night. Maybe it's a little easier for us to focus on specific things. But like you said, it also could be that it is an interdimensional thing, or it could be even an echo of something that happened. Like when you go to these haunted places, obviously horrible things happened in those places, and maybe it's not them, maybe it's just an echo of the traumatic event that just keeps replaying, and you're just observing a piece of that, but it's not really interacting with you, and so then it's really not a spirit, it's just like a echo, right?
Right, you're looking at the stone tape theory, basically. So the stone tape theory is that occurrences that happen within a location can imprint themselves on the location itself, such as when you look into a mirror, you can imprint your emotions onto a mirror, or the theory states. So, good example. Old Coffee County Jail in Elba, Alabama. We investigated there back when I lived in Alabama. And I did not know this at the time, but we investigated that jail on the 20th anniversary to the day of Sheriff Neil Grantham getting shot to death by a former inmate on the front steps. So when we went in there, we were called in by the local JCs. So the JCs are a nonprofit company that do things, throughout the community, feed the homeless, do all that good stuff. They ran a haunted attraction in an old jail. So I'm sorry if you're gonna pick a spot to do a haunted attraction, that's the best spot. But so people were coming forward at the end of the tour because the owner of the JCs in that area was always at the exit, shaking people's hands, thanking them for coming to see the event and supporting the community or whatever. And they would comment on the actor that he had back in a certain area. And he said, "There's no actor back there. That no one should have been back there, period." And so he contacted the Chamber of Commerce. Chamber of Commerce contacted me. We went in, we investigated, and I think everything there was residual besides one occurrence that we had where we had so they had a bullpen set up. It was a two-story jail. There was a bullpen set up upstairs. What a bullpen setup is where they have multiple bunks because they were nonviolent inmates. So you could actually kind of book them all together back in that time frame. Then downstairs, you had your three cells with four bunks. The three cells with four bunks were what they called the drunk cells, where they would get called for, DUIs, whatever. They would put them in there and just let them sleep the night off. At the end of that hallway, you had one singular solitary cell. This solitary cell was just in case somebody got violent. The little tiny window opening, and that's it, right? This cell had not been opened in so long. It took 5 people and 3 cans of WD-40 to open this cell. The hinges were almost damn near non-existent. I'm surprised we actually got the cell open, to be honest. I go in there and I'm like, all right, I'm going to sit down. I instructed my father, who is a part of my team actually, to set up a camera here on the cell door facing inside the cell, and a camera on the back side of the cell to document what was going on the outside. I go into the cell. I'm doing EVP work. I'm about 15 minutes in. All of a sudden, it's dark, and I hear a loud bang. The cell door that just took 5 of us to open with all of that lubricant slammed shut on its own volition. I was stuck in the cell for an hour.
Oh my gosh, because they had to get it back open.
Yeah.
Oh
They had to
gosh.
call a locksmith because when it shut, it locked.
So you were were in there by yourself
By myself.
for an hour. How did that feel?
Not good. If you ever had a shit your pants moment, that was probably one of them for me. Just to be honest. But the odd thing about it is, and where this kind of correlates to the paranormal, as well as going back to what I was telling you earlier about the anniversary of Sheriff Grantham's death. When the cell door slammed shut, both cameras that I had pointed at the cell died simultaneously, same exact timestamp. I am not a firm believer in coincidences. Synchronicities, yes. Coincidences, no. But what if the plausibility of the spirit of Sheriff Grantham walked by, saw there was a plausible, being me, inmate in the cell, and wanted to know why that cell door was open, so he slammed it shut because he was angry that it was open?
That would be crazy. Yeah. Huh. I don't see. This is why I don't like to go to. I don't like to go to like prisons that are old asylums and stuff like
Oh, I
that.
love them.
Because, I mean, that's great.
I don't know. Alcatraz was really fun.
Was it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm jealous. My daughter went to Alcatraz last summer. She got to go and she rubbed it in my face the whole fucking time.
I know I need to go.
Salem is one of my favorite places to go too. Like I go down to Salem at least 3 times a year. I had a family member who was tried and found guilty during the Salem witch trials. So she was never executed. The witch trials ended before the execution of her happened, luckily. But yeah, so I mean, I go down there because it's family history for me.
Ooh, see, and that's on my bucket list. I want to get out to Salem and I just want to go all over Massachusetts, but definitely Salem.
If you ever go to Salem, you send me a message. I will come and personally be your tour guide. I love that place. It's one of my favorite places to go. The history there is
I'm going to
amazing.
take you up on that.
Yeah, walking to the old burying point where you can see the grave of Nathaniel Hawthorne's father. It's amazing, and a lot of people don't realize that Nathaniel Hawthorne's father was actually a judge during the witch trials. The Hawthorne name actually had an extra E in it. Nathaniel Hawthorne dropped it so that way he could get away from the stigma of his father that was caused during the witch trials because he thought it would hurt his writing career. Very similar to how my family dropped the extra L from the front of our name. We have one L now. It used to be two.
Would you, when you go to when you go to Salem or any of the other places, do you bring your? I know you said you bring your daughter, but I have a 7-year-old nephew, and I'm trying to figure out. He loves paranormal stuff, but I haven't taken him on any investigations yet. I'm trying to figure out what's like appropriate for a 7, 8-year-old kid.
Okay, so main thing is before you take him on any kind of excursion, right? Teach him personal spiritual protection. That's going to be the main thing because kids are more susceptible to it. Let me tell you, my son, he went on that ghost hunt, and I'm proud of him for doing it. He lasted all of 9 minutes because he was holding a K2 meter, and it was the only thing in the room going off. And then he felt his arm go ice cold, and he said, "Daddy, I want to leave." I was like, "What's going on, buddy?" He told me, I was like, "Buddy, there's nothing to be afraid of. It's just a spirit within the Opera House," which the Opera House actually was the original jail here in Newport too. So that makes a huge difference. But I was like, "Buddy, there's nothing to be afraid of." And he's like, "Nope, I just want to leave." And I said, "Okay." So my advice to you would be teach him personal spiritual protection, but also know that when he tells you he's feeling something, trust his instincts. Don't push the envelope.
Yeah, kids are way more intuitive than we are, I guess, right? At some point, or they're more open to it,
Right.
right, than most adults.
So if you wanted to take him on an excursion, I would recommend maybe looking up a maybe a historical place in your area, a museum or something, and take him there first. Just kind of, gather a feeling and a bearing as to what you think he can handle and what you think he can't. And then just kind of branch off from there. Start a little, if you would, a layering system. When we went to this museum, it was a little bit old. You know what? Well, I know he can handle that. Then maybe go for a walk in the cemetery, right? Afterwards. See if he can handle that. Because from my experience with my son, cemeteries creep him out. He can do historic buildings all day long, but cemeteries creep him out. So I try not to bring him to those kind of locations. But then again, I'm also a firm believer in I don't bring anyone under 18 on an investigation without parental consent. because I know that anyone that young, they're more susceptible to, I guess you could say, attachments. I'm not going to call it possession because I'm not really a firm believer in demons. So they're more susceptible to attachments, but they also feel things that you may not feel, and they may bring a very, very good aspect to your investigative process. So I would start off with historical locations, maybe take him to a cemetery, just kind of walk around, not doing an investigation, see what he picks up on, see what he feels. If he feels uncomfortable with it, then just stick to the museums and the historical locations, and I think you'll do okay.
Now, you mentioned teaching spiritual protection, and that applies to anybody. Anybody that wants to start investigating,
Yes.
definitely learn boundaries first. But what are some of your go to ways to establish those spiritual boundaries and protection?
So for me, I do a grounding and centering technique. I'm Wiccan, so I do grounding and centering. But there's multiple different ways you can do it. You can do a prayer before an investigation, which, even being Wiccan, I used to do that because I have multiple people on my team that are Christian and or Catholic. So here's the thing with the paranormal: you have to kind of be flexible with your religious beliefs, because especially with my case, I do a lot of residential stuff, right? So if I go into a house and the religious household is Catholic, they're not going to let me do a smudging. They're going to be all against it. So I always have Florida water. I always have holy water. I have smudge sticks. I have pretty much anything that could conform to any religious need that would conform to a household. So, do I firmly believe in that religion? And would that affect the blessing? Yes, it does. Because if I don't firmly believe in the religion, my blessing may not take as strong as someone else's, right? But if the family firmly believes in what I'm doing, that belief will override my own thought process because they're inputting that energy into the household.
So their belief in you and what you're doing just amplifies what you're doing, and kind of by proxy, it's by proxy of you, they're kind of cleansing their house.
Yes. And they don't even know they're doing it themselves. It's not me. They are empowering themselves. And that standpoint, it's a play on illusion, is what it is. I'm giving them the power to take back their house by doing what I'm doing when I'm not even firmly a believer in that specific religion. They're taking back their own house. They don't even know it. Sometimes that's all you need, is you need people to just empower themselves so they can step up and say, this is my house. I want it back. And they stand behind you. But it's their faith in me and their faith in their religion that imprints that power to be able to do that.
It always reminds me of Fright Night, right?
Oh,
You
God,
have to
yes.
believe.
I love Fright Night. Great movie.
Phenomenal movie.
Right? It's
I noticed the Camp Crystal Lake sign back there, by the way, BJ, and I kind of want to buy that from you. I love that.
yeah, it's great. My buddy made it. Just put a bunch of sequence on the Camp Crystal Lake part, and then my other friend just threw a bunch of fake blood on there.
Nice.
And,
I'm a huge horror movie buff. I have a DVD collection of a little bit over like 3,700 movies, and 85% of them are horror movies, some of which you can't even find anymore. Like I have the original 1922 black and white Nosferatu on DVD.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
All right, name your top 5 favorite.
Top 5 favorite horror movies. I have to start off 1978 original Halloween. I don't know why people are so afraid of William Shatner, but you have it for what
It's
it is.
Mariah Carey, guys. It's Mariah Carey.
Oh, you know what? I could see that actually. Halloween. And my number 2 here is going to be kind of awkward because a lot of people didn't like it, but I loved it. I loved the 13 Ghosts remake with Tony Shalhoub.
Oh, yeah. Love that one.
I thought the graphics were good. I thought the movie was well shot. The dialogue could have been a little bit better, but it wasn't bad. I love Leprechaun, the original Leprechaun. Jennifer Aniston and Warwick Davis, they just played so well off each other. It was a great movie. Number 4, I'm going to go with Killer Clowns from Outer Space, as cheesy as it was.
No, it's great.
It's the movie that gave my brother his fear of clowns probably the reason I like it so much.
That's why I have my little gun right here too. That's lit up
Yes, and you got to go
from
number
that movie.
5 for me, Tim Curry in it.
Love me some Pennywise.
I judge my friends off of their Tim Curry knowledge.
So it's funny because Killer Clowns gave your brother his fear of clowns. It gave my brother his fear of clowns.
So let me tell you, I know my brother has been afraid of clowns for years. And when I was living in Alabama, there was a time that I wanted to go to the mall. So I called him up. I said, hey, brother, I'm heading to the mall. You want to go with me? He was like, yeah, sure, I'll go to the mall. I can use some new cologne. So I pick him up. We're heading to the mall. I take a right turn. He's like, hey, the mall's the other way. I said, I know. I took his ass to the circus.
You're mean.
Am I mean? Or is that not a great
You're mean,
prank?
but it's amazing. No, it's mean and amazing. I would absolutely do that to my brother.
I love it.
And my only fear is lawn gnomes.
You have a fear of lawn gnomes.
Lawn gnomes and heights. Actually, so 2 fears. Lawn gnomes and high places.
I love gnomes. I love any kind of gnomes.
You would not
Lawn
love
gnomes.
you would not love the gnome that I will you look, I will send you a photo of the gnome that gave me this fear. You will not love gnomes after you see this. Jet black eyes. Oh, nope.
Where did you see it?
My grandmother owned it for years.
Okay, I want a picture.
Yeah,
I
and
want a
it's-
picture of it.
And it used to be set up before she passed. It was set up in the front doorway. So that was the first gnome you saw when you walked in. Do you want to talk about nightmare fuel? Yeah, fuck that thing. In my closet back there, which I'm not going to dig it out right now because the case weighs about 30 pounds, I have a haunted clown doll that resides in my closet. I've tried to get rid of the thing 5 or 6 times, and every time I try to get rid of it, something happens. Either the person can't come pick it up, or they don't have room in their car to take it home. Always seems to happen. My brother wants the clown doll in his room.
I'd be more concerned about that.
That's what I'm
Why?
concerned about.
Why? Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm concerned about because I feel like it's the entity attached to the clown playing on his fear. I don't know what it is. I don't think it's demonic. I just think maybe there was a very negative person that owned it at one time that has imprinted its energy on it. The thing's fucking creepy.
Why do you have it?
Funny story. So my ex, my most recent ex, she's driving home from work and she drives past this clown that's in this really elaborate case sitting out by the road. She comes home and she's like, you know what I think would be funny? And I said, what's that? And she said, if you go and grab this clown doll from down the road and bring it up to your brother. I was like, what fucking clown doll? What are you talking about? So I walk down there. I see the clown doll. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'll let it sit there for a few days. Maybe it's a lawn decoration. Coming home from work one day, we drove by it. I stop. I knock on the door. 2 teenage kids answer the door. And I was like, hey, I got a curiosity question for you. What are you guys doing with this clown doll out here? And all I hear is this lady yell from the next room, if he wants that godforsaken fucking thing, he can have it.
That should have been your cue not to.
That should have been my first cue, right? I agree with you 100%. So my ex was at work when this happened. So I grabbed the clown doll. I go to pick it up off of the curb and I dropped it. Now, mind you, it's made of porcelain. The back came open when I dropped it and it fell out of the case. If it was made of porcelain, as soon as the face of that clown hit the ground, it should have shattered. It did not. The only thing that broke on that clown was the foot. I picked it up, picked all the pieces of the foot up, put it back into the case, brought it home, sat it on the back porch. My ex comes home from work, walks in the door, and says, what the fuck is that thing doing at this house? I said, in my defense, it was your idea.
You're not wrong.
And she said, no, that was not my idea. My idea was for you to bring it to your brother. And I was like, do you really think if you throw something like that at me, I'm going to give it away? That's not going to happen. So a few months later, she goes down to Massachusetts, and me and my daughter, she came up to visit me from Florida. She was up here for a month. We bring the doll inside, and we're running paranormal applications. I got multiple different applications that I like to try and test out and run. I figured out that the spirit that resides within the doll is named Ian. And I figured that out because we got the same name through 4 different applications. When we asked what its name was, it said Ian. So when we were running an app called the iOvilus, which is only available for iPhone, right? I asked, what is your issue right now? Like, why are you affecting me? Because I went to sleep that night with the doll in the house, and I woke up after having a nightmare of a clown chasing me up from the basement. So I asked, why are you affecting me? It said, sad, broken, foot. Those were the 3 words that came to the obelisk.
You did it. You broke its foot.
In my defense, 6 different glues I've tried to glue this foot back together with. It will not glue back together. I've even tried ceramic glue. It will not hold.
That is like the saddest response. Sad, broken foot.
It is, and I caused it, right? So fast forward 8 months. My ex makes a trip down to Massachusetts, right? I bring the clown back inside because now I'm really curious and I want to, so the clown stayed in the garage. She wouldn't allow it in the house. The garage wasn't attached to the house, so that's kind of where it resided. I brought it back inside because, well, she wasn't home. Fuck it, why not, right? I run a few app
So
tests.
many reasons why not.
Yeah, but I in hindsight, yes. So I run a few app tests for about 3 hours. I get nothing. I get no responses on any app that I run. I was like, all right, to hell with this. I'm going to bed. The case on this clown weighs 30 pounds. It was sitting on a dining room table that's about 4 feet, maybe 4.5 feet off the ground. When I went to bed, it was sitting on the table a good 6 inches from the edge. When I woke up, the chair that was sitting in front of the clown was knocked over and the whole case was on the floor, face down. There is no way possible on a hardwood floor without carpet that thing fell with it being that heavy that it would not have woken me up. Not just that, but there's no way possible that thing fell face first and the clown doll once again did not break.
All I have to say to you is sad, broken foot.
Look, I'm
This is
trying to
your
fix
fault.
it. I'm trying to fix it.
It's your fault. You broke its
So-
sad foot.
Maybe you just have to drive it out to the woods, and just kind of leave it out there.
Period.
I've had people ask me, why don't you just give it away? And I'm like, I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to give that problem to somebody else.
And you feel a little guilty about the foot. You want
I
to
do.
make it right.
I do.
I could tell.
And I have, like I said, I tried 6 different types of glue. Nothing works. But I won't touch the doll without dousing my hands in holy water first anyway. So,
Have you considered making it a new foot?
I mean, I build bridges. I don't do ceramics.
But you would give it a peg leg. Give it like a wooden foot.
I don't
Ask
know if it would
next time you run your app.
I'll tell you
ask.
what. I'll make it a peg leg and give it an eye patch.
In with the eye patch. Eye patching in.
Pirate clown.
I don't think it would appreciate it. But it's worth a shot.
You could ask it. Next time, just say, hey, okay, look, I know, sad broken foot. What are you open to a new foot?
Not a bad idea.
And if it's like murder, kill you, then no, okay, I gotta fix the foot.
My buddy Denny Perez, who actually made me this Ouija board back here, it's a custom made. This is actually made out of used coffin wood. And yeah, why not?
Why?
Wait. Used coffin wood.
That
Let me
means a
ask-
dead body was in there.
Yes,
So wait, yes, but wait.
How'd you get it back?
Right.
because he works. He's a groundskeeper for a funeral home. So some people don't know that the older coffins, like say the graves date back to like 18 something like that, when they have the older coffins, there's occasions where they would dig those bodies up and bury them in newer coffins. That's where he gets the wood from.
Okay, so so you've used this.
This Ouija board was built out of used coffin wood.
Look, guys, all I'm saying is if you want demonic activity, that's how you get it.
Negative. I don't use it. It is.
I was
Kidding.
gonna say, I'm like, yeah, that sounds like something you don't want to.
No,
be
it is
using much.
strictly a display piece. He even gave me a planchette made out of the same coffin that he got the wood from. I keep that in my dresser drawer. I've never let the planchette touch the board.
Yeah, Ian's gonna change that for you.
Negative. I wouldn't.
You're gonna wake up to the planchette on the board, and Ian's like, "Fuck you. Where's my foot?"
In that case, I'm throwing them out the window. Which it's bad enough that my bedroom overlooks the oldest cemetery in the town. So I'm right across the street from a cemetery. I got a Ouija board made of coffin wood. I've got a haunted freaking clown doll. I have a vial of soil from Vlad Tepes Castle over in Romania.
Are you trying to create like a vortex here? Like, what do we have? What are we doing here?
He's not scared of any of it.
I'm not scared.
You give him bring him some gnomes.
No,
I was
no,
sending you a gnome.
no.
I was sending you a gnome.
No.
No. I got the finger point. No.
If she does that, then BJ will get the doll. How about that?
Wait,
I'm good
John,
with this.
wait
That's a
minute.
deal.
What
Wait
are
a
you
minute.
getting? He gets the Ouija board.
No, you brought up the Ouija board. On your investigations with your teams. Do you guys steer clear of using spirit boards, or do you incorporate
Yeah.
them?
I do not use them. I do have recently. I acquired via Christmas present a what is it called? It's where you hang the pendulum and it swings.
Yeah, a scrying board.
Yes, very similar. So my brother built me a custom-made case for it that I don't have to physically hold it, the pendulum. So this way there's no physical altercation to how it sways. I can set it up, I let it become neutral, and then I can start asking questions. Now the wood itself is made out of sycamore, which has a very decent tie to the paranormal. It's known to be able to withhold the energy of spirits. So I'm really excited to try that. But as far as like Ouija boards and stuff, no, I don't touch them.
No, a lot more places too are starting to prohibit them from investigations. They're like, yeah, we'll let you come investigate, but you cannot use spirit boards.
Yeah, because a lot of people give them a bad rep, and a lot of that, I'm gonna be honest with you, is based off of the Conjuring movies and The Exorcist. I can tell you that I've used Ouija boards in the past. One time, I had an experience that could not been disproved as the ideomotor effect. Which, for your viewers out there that don't know what the ideomotor effect is, it's basically where your body's micro movements causes the planchette to move subconsciously based on your own thoughts. Now, if you were playing it by yourself, could that be a plausibility? Yes. If you're playing it with a group of people, you have 4 different people with their 2 fingers on the planchette. What is the astronomical plausibility that those 4 people are thinking the same exact answer? Almost slim to none, right? Yeah, so I don't think the ideomotor effect would account for a lot of the experiences that people encounter, but I don't mess with them. It's my policy. I don't want them. I have 3 of them because they were given to me by clients, and they are wrapped up and they get blessed and they stay in my storage shed. That's where they stay.
Yeah, we've talked about spirit boards, and I mean, for me, a spirit board is a form of mediumship and possession that you're basically allowing. And I feel like because most people go in with no idea on energetic boundaries and the paranormal world, they're just leaving themselves open to whatever comes a knocking. And I think to me, that's a little bit dangerous and irresponsible.
I'm not going to say you're wrong, but I want you to think about it like this. In order to use a spirit board, you have to open yourself up to the spirit world, right? When you're doing EVP work during an investigation, are you not literally doing the same thing? You are opening yourself up to whatever is willing to contact
Not
you.
in the same way.
Not in the same way per se, but it is a similar aspect.
I don't know, because I feel like EVP, you're saying talk to my equipment. And yes, you are allowing inviting the spiritual world to come in and make contact, but it's still external to you. Whereas with a spirit board, you are literally saying, take over me for a moment to control my hands.
Okay. And that argument, yes, I can see that. Because you're inviting a spirit into your body to take over,
Yes.
to move the hands.
Yes.
I can see that. Okay.
Yeah, because otherwise we wouldn't put our hands on it, right? It would just be like, hey, move that planchette thing. And that I would feel like would be similar to an EVP, right? Like, hey, you touch the planchette, you move it, I'm not going to. However, when it's like, hey, we're touching it, you move it, use me to move it, then it's like, okay, now we're dangerous grounds.
Right, you're going more into the form of channeling than anything. Once you channel, it can attach to
Yeah.
you. Now I'm curious if I can set up a Ouija board, get a spirit to move the planchette on its
There you
own.
go. Give it a try. Let me know what happens.
Because that might,
Yeah, I don't think I will, but I'm
I like
curious.
that. I don't
You
think I will.
you could give it to somebody who's willing to do it.
Yeah.
And then you watch from a video.
Give it a try.
From a city away.
You know what?
You know.
I like this idea. I will give it to my brother. He's an idiot. He'll
Oh
do
my
it.
God. He's an idiot. I mean, to me, that is, then we're now turning it into an investigative tool versus a channeling tool. And so I think that does
Right.
take an element of the inadvertent danger out of it. Because again, a lot of people that are playing with these, they're not versed with how to protect themselves, how to cleanse
Right.
themselves. And so it's a little bit more dangerous in terms of attachments and possession and things like that.
Yeah. And not only that, for me, it not only takes out the inadvertent possibility of attachment, it also takes out the plausibility of human error.
That too? What was that?
Man, he's being loud out there. Sorry, my brother's in the hallway.
All I'm saying is when I edit this and I hear the yeah probably, I'm holding to that was Ian.
I have to ask all three of you to calm down a little bit, okay?
Calm down. No,
Calm
I will
down,
not
John.
calm down.
Right?
So my buddy Danny, the same guy that makes these, he owns a museum of wonders, is what he calls it. He actually makes planchettes out of human shoulder bones.
What the fuck? I am so why? Why? Is it
I
just
like
for
it.
the oddity of it, or does it serve a purpose to use the
Yes,
human
literally
bones?
for that. He owns a fork that was part of the Jeffrey Dahmer investigation. He owns a mummified head. God knows why.
Because why not?
But yeah, you know what? Why not? Exactly. But yeah, fucking great guy though. Nicest guy you ever met. But he collects some of the weirdest shit.
You need a femur. I know a guy.
You need a femur. I mean, where does he get the shoulder bones?
They're donated to him because basically once people use them during medical classes, like sometimes when they go through medical classes, they actually do physical human autopsies,
Mhm.
right? And when those things happen, it's typically people who donate their body to science. He happens to have a connection to a person who knows a doctor, and, well,
He knows a guy.
he knows a guy who knows a guy.
But seriously, what the fuck? This is gonna be the
I'm
title of this
actually
episode. Just a whole lot of what the fuck? Like,
I'm actually gonna be purchasing one of those planchettes next time I see him.
you and I are gonna have a
So
conversation about this unhealthy collection you've got going.
what is wrong with my collection?
No slumber party at Nathaniel's.
Oh, God damn it. God, y'all, you're killing me now. You're killing
Nope.
me.
I mean, the boys will probably
I'm
go. They'll be
disappointed. Yeah,
down. They'll be like,
exactly.
let's
I'm
play with the
disappointed.
Ouija
Yeah, it
board.
could be fun.
I mean,
It could be
I would
fun.
hang out with
There
Ian.
you go.
Like,
Boys' night.
I'm not, that'd be cool.
I'd fucking give you Ian. You
I
can
don't
have
want
him.
him, but I'll hang out with him. I don't want him.
Well, you know, this is no part-time basis deal. If you're gonna hang out with Ian, you're taking Ian with you. That's the way it's
The
going to
problem
work.
is Ian would like me too much, and probably people around me would start disappearing.
You know what? Maybe.
That might be true.
I'm not gonna lie. I do have a bunch of weird things. You know, I have a few rocks from Lake Loch Ness. I have blood slides from a tuberculosis hospital from the 1940s. I've got privacy glass that's almost half an inch thick from Medfield State Hospital in Medfield, Massachusetts. Yeah, I collect some weird stuff. I'm not gonna
Do
lie.
you remember the tapping on the window you talked about?
This is way before that. Way before.
I'm just wondering. And then you live across from the oldest cemetery. I mean, do you ever wonder why your house might be haunted?
Somewhere in my collection, I have human dental molds.
That's gross. People's mouths are gross.
It is, but they were a gift.
You get some interesting gifts. So we need to work on healthy gifts. I'm going to send you a teddy bear, a non-haunted teddy bear.
I cannot help what I acquire at Paracons,
So
okay?
it's fair. Do you ever wonder why they're trying to give it to you, though? This is like their Ian that they're giving to you.
It's like, do you know what this guy needs? He needs a head. He needs a severed head.
So what's your next investigation?
My next investigation, actually, physical investigation, I'll be going over to a place called Broadhead Manor in Wisconsin. I'm being flown out by the owner of the location. He's paying for my whole travel, lodging, all that, for the Paranormal Rockdown event in Broadhead, Wisconsin. Um, so the event is actually Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm arriving on Thursday and leaving on Monday. So I'll actually be in the location for 5 nights.
That's awesome. Sounds like a lot of fun.
Kind of sounds like a Five Nights at Freddy kind of
I think
thing,
you're
if you
gonna have
ask
a
me.
blast. If you can
Oh,
collect
I am.
all of the shit that you
Yeah.
do and somehow still evade being like possessed and having a completely haunted house, I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, so me and him already had a discussion. He has an embalming table from 1926.
Please tell me you're
Yes.
gonna sleep on it.
The first night I stay there, I'm sleeping on the embalming table.
Yes.
Second night I stay there, he has an ice coffin from 1897, which is a steel-lined coffin that they used to put the ice in because back in that time you had what was called the living room or the parlor, as it would call it, where they would display the body for 7 days before they buried it. That was part of the funeral process to allow people time to get there to see their loved one before they passed. So he has one of those ice coffins. I'm sleeping in that. He also has a body cooler in the basement. Yes, I'm sleeping a night in the body cooler. So
You remember how you had a door slammed on you and you were locked in a cell for an hour? This may happen in the coffin and the bodies.
I'm aware. I'm aware. And the sad thing is,
You're excited.
I'm gonna be in the location with two other people that I fully trust. They're great people. David Childers and Laura Huey. I firmly trust them. They're great people. But I do know that the radios in that building, they don't work very well, and we're gonna be floors apart. So
Well, I'm hopefully you have some kind of system set in place where it's like, hey, check on him in like
Just
an
set up a
hour.
live stream. And if it cuts out, then we know shit's going down. Call one of them.
yeah, I look at it this way. I could do some self medicating stuff because I'm a certified first response medic, so I can kind of like do some self stuff for myself. But yeah, no, I've already told them radio me once every hour and a half. If I don't
Come
respond,
check on me.
they just come and look
Just come
because
look.
I don't know what's going on. But I can't pass up the opportunity to sleep on those kind of spots. I can't.
I could.
I'm weird though.
Oh. Well, kudos to you and your weirdness. I love it. And this time has super flown by. But before we start wrapping things up, where can people find more about you and what you do? And are you open to people contacting you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on Facebook at Nathaniel Elwell. I have two different profiles. One of them does not work. Go for the one that looks for me kind of like in a portrait style setting. The one with my daughter, don't go for that one because I don't remember the password. You can find me on Twitter at Paranormal Nate. You can find me on Instagram at Nate Elwell. You can find me on TikTok at Static Voices. You can find me on YouTube at Static_Voices. If you add me as a friend on TikTok and or Facebook, I will add you back. And don't hesitate to contact me. If you have a picture, you have a video that you want me to look at, I don't mind at all.
Amazing. All right, guys, do we have any final thoughts before we wrap this awesome episode up?
No, I just wanted to say, I appreciate you coming on. I really enjoyed all the info you gave us. Like it's very like you talk really well and you talk really fast about the things that you know, and it's great. It's great to have that insight about all the different things that you've done, all the things that you've encountered, all the tools that you use and all the weird things that you have, and that's awesome.
A lot of people tell me I talk too fast, but for me, like I think I'm just for me the quicker the words come out, the more I'm speaking from experience and off the top of my knowledge.
I kept up with you. I'm good.
Yeah, I also feel like if you talk fast, you can hear the passion behind it all as well. So
You have stories to tell and you tell them well.
I'm very passionate about this. I love what I do. Like I said, July 6th will be 18 years down to the day. July 6th will be 18 years. But guys, I definitely appreciate you having me on. I love the conversation, and thank you so much.
This has been amazing. All right, John Thomas, do you want to bring us home?
I do. Thank you again for coming on. Again, you can definitely tell the passion. Love all the weird things that you collect, and BJ will take Ian. I'm just kidding.
Hi, Ian.
I'll tell Ian you said hi, Ashley.
But yeah, and they right now maybe Ashley wants him, even though she says no. But hey,
I'm considering it.
there you go. Thank you to all of our listeners for listening to this episode of 300 Podcast. With your hosts, I'm John Thomas.
I am Ashley Lunar Goddess.
And I'm BJ Segura.
If you have any questions, comments, episode suggestions, or concerns for all of us, please feel free to email us at 300podcast@gmail.com. And if you haven't done so already, please like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media. You don't want to miss amazing guests like Mr. Nathaniel here.
And also, don't forget to check out 3hauntedpodcast.com, where you'll find all of our past and current season episodes, as well as guest information and all kinds of awesome merch.
Until next time.